Guys, this is our last pen and ink technique for the semester. This is stippling. Now, stippling, unlike the vertical line, the model line, and the hatching and cross hatching, it's not lines, it's dots. And because we're doing dots, we need to use a pen that makes really good dots. So what I would suggest to you is, let me move this over a little bit. There we go. You can see that a little better. A Sharpie extra fine. It's got an extra fine point on it. It's a good bit smaller than the regular Sharpie, but it says right here on the barrel, extra fine. So when you pick up yours at the store, that's what you need to look for, Sharpie extra fine. Now, I've already transferred over my lion here to the paper. I did it just like I did the other ones because it was quicker and easier. I just went ahead and did the pencil transfer method where I printed it out, I did the pencil on the back, I taped it to the paper, and I drew all over the front, and that pencil that's on the back comes off on the page, okay? And I've already started just a little bit here so I could kind of get started before I made the video. But like all of the pen and ink techniques, the tighter you pack the dots, the darker they make the area. The farther you spread them out, the lighter they make the area. Okay? And then if something is like ultra white, you probably wouldn't do anything there. But even in the light areas, you will have some dots, just spread them out. Okay? So, like I said, I've already gotten just slightly started right here. It's this eye over here where I started. And I'm going to work a little bit in the dark area, and then I'm going to work some in the color of the eye, and then start out into the fur for you so that you can see. So let me get started. And with this, we're just, like I said, we're just placing dots. Now, I don't know if you can hear or not hear, but I'm going to do something. I'm going to turn the pen over. What you don't hear is this. Okay? If you're doing that, you really don't have control over where you're placing the dots. Oftentimes, they come out looking like a comma or a little line slash, and it beats up the tip of the pen, and then your pen doesn't work. So you need to be careful as far as beating the pen on the page and not damaging the tip. And it doesn't make it any faster for you to do the banging with the pen tip. Like I said, you don't have the control that you need, and you end up beating up the pen. So, not a good thing all around. Now, where this is coming down here, right in here, try to move that a little closer, it's not as dark. So I'm going to start spreading those dots out. But I do want to make them darker than the surrounding fur, because the surrounding fur is not as dark as that. This up here is very white. I'm going to come back to that. And this area in here is a little grayer. So I'm going to start with the gray and just get some dots in. And I have to be very deliberate about where I'm putting some of those dots. There we go, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to come up and do this area right in here, which is a little darker than this area. So I'll come up here get some of that. I'm going to, where that's next to that, make that a little darker. And then I'm going to kind of blend out away from it. There we go. I don't want to get it too dark up against the gray because it won't blend well and it won't look as good as it should. Let's see, that's a little darker there, so I'm going to come back and add just a little bit there. There we go. And I'm going to keep moving over here, and this part right here is darker than where I'm working, so I'm going to pick up the shade of that. And you have to make your blends between this and this, and between this and this. You just come back in with a few more dots and make it blend a little better so it doesn't just have an abrupt stop to it. Okay. And then this part of the eye up here, it's not as dark as the picture is, and but it is in shadow, so I'm going to do it a little darker than it ordinarily would be. And there's a little highlight right there by the pupil. I'm going to leave that like that for right now. I'll come in and do some more. I'll add some more in here. I'm going to darken this up a little bit. I'm going to make sure the pupil's as dark as it needs to be. But this white right here, I'm going to go ahead and put in some of it for you. And like I said, if it's really light, we're not going to do hardly anything. That's enough. Okay. I hope you can see that on camera well. I'm going to show you some that are finished. I just wanted to show you the technique of how it's done, and show you a few things about that you're not beating the pen up on the page, and you have to come back and add things to it to darken it up where it should be darkened up. And see, this part's a little darker, so I'm going to leave this right here a little bit lighter. And then when I come in here, I'm going to add some more in here. And like I say, I'm not finished. I will come back and add even a little more to make that blend between those two areas. Okay, but that's that area right there. You see, that's very dark, that's kind of in the middle, and these are lighter. So that's where I'm getting to right there. All right, so I'm going to stop right there. I hope you can see that well, that's starting to shape up. It's by no means complete. Like I said, I will come back and do more work and fix some of my blends and make it nicer as far as where they go from shade to shade. Okay, but I want to show you some that are complete, that the people did a very good job. Some of these I did, some of these students did. So let's take a look at some of those. All right, this is student work. There we go. They did a really nice job as far as the shadows and some things in here. You can't see it here, but there's not as many shadows on the skull as there should have been. Okay, but they did a very nice job in most of the areas. They could have shaped it up just a little bit better, but all in all, good job for that one. Here's another one. This one's also, as far as the skull was better, this one's a little flat. They didn't do as good a job blending in some places, but like I said, all in all, pretty good job. Just a pumpkin patch and some of the things, like see this stem right here didn't get any stippling in it, and it should have. And there's just some things about the color. See, this is much better in here where it separates this pumpkin from that pumpkin. But then in some of the other places, it's not as good a job. There should have been, even though this is in shadow, this part under here should have been even a little darker so it looks like the pumpkin's sitting on the ground. That's one of the things you can't see. Okay. And here's also another one that in places they did a really good job, like up here on the flamingo. That's a really nice job. Some of the work they did in here is really good, and some of this stuff in here where the feathers are. But then right beside it, like over here and up around the neck, they didn't do quite as good a job as they could have. They didn't get a real good dark light and where it blends and how it looks. The neck should look round. They didn't get that in very well. But overall, you know, not a terrible job. They did pretty decent. All right, here's a few things. Well, one more student. This is very nice. Very nice. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but even in the white areas, there are dots. There are stippling in the white areas. And they did a really nice job on the mane and showing the shape of the zebra's neck here. Just nice all over. The darkness under the nose here and the light area on the nose here and then the highlights there. Just a really good job all the way around. This is probably the best student work that I've showed you other than the skull. And then here's a few that I did. So here's a bulldog that I did, and I was very pleased with that. The shading and shadowing turned out really nice, and every bit of that is dots, every bit of it. If you can see, if you were looking at it live, you can see all the dot work in here. On camera, it may look more like a solid area, but you can see all the dots there. And then this other one, I did two different birds. Here is a big hawk, and I thought that turned out very well. Nice job in those places. And then here's a different bird right here. And once again, you can see all of the dot work in there. Even in the darkest darks, you can see the dots. You can see the stippling. Okay, this one's not complete. It has a background in here that I have not done yet, but I will get to that. And then here's a reason why you probably don't want to go with an all black or an all white animal. Okay, this Great Dane was all black, and you can see you have a really tough time sometimes getting the blend on those. All those light areas on the Great Dane have to be blended and made to look like light reflections where it's reflecting off that coal black fur. So it's really difficult. So that's why a good reason why I don't tell you guys to do something that's all black or all white. It's much more difficult to deal with when it's all black or all white. So whether you choose, and I know everything I've shown you today has been animals, but whether you choose a still life or animals or a portrait or a landscape or a cityscape, it's your choice, but make sure that you do a good job as far as interpreting the lights and darks of the photograph. And like I always say, I always try to start with the darkest darks. That way I know that nothing else on the page will be as dark as that. Everything else will be lighter. So good luck. I hope these were some good examples for you. And for the next 2 weeks of class, we will be doing the stippling. And then as we're out for Thanksgiving break, that will give you a third week to work on it, and these will be due when we come back from Thanksgiving break. So there's your stippling, and good luck with your drawing.